Let's talk about yarn, y'all. Welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel. If you're new here, I'm happy to see you and I hope you stick around. If you're returning, thank you very much. I am super excited to be on here again, sharing about my finished objects, the ongoing projects I have, and the latest acquisitions, also potential future. Also, midway through, there might be a little bit of a rant, so if you're interested in that, skip to the middle. Okay, so hopefully the wind chime isn't too annoying for y'all, but I thought it would be nice to sit outside and enjoy the beautiful weather we're having here in the Gulf Coast area of Texas. We had a cold front roll through a few days ago. I say cold front, other places would not think so, but like we turned on our heater. It was maybe in the 40s overnight, and yesterday it was up into the like high 70s, and today I think we're in the low 70s, but cool enough that if I'm sitting still in the shade here, I do want a little layer of something extra over. So I'm wearing a previous finished object. This is a very popular one everyone was making, was the Lento, and I completely understand why. This is not one of my like proudest makes, although whenever I wear it, non-knitters are like, oh my gosh, I love your sweater, and I'm like, you are too kind. There are so many errors here. Like every time I wear it, we have more problems. I kind of wonder if just the wearing of it without having held the mohair with the fingering weight, such an open gauge, is not only one, causing snags, but two, potentially damaging the material. I don't know, but it's like, I made this to wear it, so we're gonna wear it. It's kind of become more of a sweatshirt for me, just around the house, and it's not anything fancy, but I do like to have the cool enough weather to put it on. But anyway, that's enough of that. I really wanted to jump in and show you guys a newest finished object. Well, it's actually the one that I finished most recently, I guess furthest back, but immediately after I finished filming my last episode, if that makes any sense. So I filmed, and then probably like 2 days later I was able to get this done. But this is the Cozy Hubby sweater I have been working on, or had been working on, for about 6 months, and I will include some B-reel of it, but it is just a fingering weight, all-purpose kind of sweater. I made it for my husband. I started back in the middle of the year because I knew it would take a long time when you're working for a male body, making something with fingering weight yarn. It just doesn't fly off the needles, no matter who you are. And I am a mom with a toddler, so I didn't always have a ton of time to dedicate to it. This also wasn't my only whip, and so between all of those things I just mentioned, plus the fact that like the collar is double knitted, I don't know, you can probably tell in that you can like see through this bottom section and you cannot through the collar portion, but it's got this really cool cowl neck that kind of like crosses over itself. It was just a completely fascinating project to work on. I learned a lot of new things. I did think I had to regrade it because at one point I thought I had purchased DK weight Hawthorne yarn from Knit Picks, and it wasn't DK weight. So I did a lot of unnecessary math early on in the project. I did make the sizes, I hope the wind's not too annoying for y'all, but I did make the sizes 1 through 3 depending on like what measurements we're looking at, because my husband's got really broad shoulders, but a narrow waist and decently large arms, and I didn't want it to be like cut too short, because if it's cold enough to wear a sweater for him, like he'll be running around in shorts and flip-flops if he's off work right now. But even though like I'm cold, I'm like, I gotta have a sweater on, but he does not. So if it's cold enough for him to want to wear this, it also, I think, needs to come all the way down to the wrist, and like I didn't want it to be short on him in any way. And I had to remind myself as I was working the body, like, this is the easy part, so enjoy it. Like, I know it's stockinette, I know it's boring, but like, just keep going, just enjoy it. So if you're finding yourself in that portion of the project, because I had done the arms, and I was just working miles of stockinette body, that's part of the point of this hobby, is the mindlessness of it, the having something to keep your hands busy. It's not always about the finished object, even though for me that is a major motivator, is the product, not the process. So I had to remind myself, enjoy the process. The one thing that I did with this pattern that is not like in the design is I used pearl bumps to kind of keep track of my decreases here, and I just did these like little chevrons, and then once I got to the point of the chevron I would do a decrease, and it just added a little bit of extra interest to the underarm of the sleeve. He has had an opportunity to wear this, so compared to other places, y'all are gonna laugh at me, but in Texas it really never gets that cold, and but this is all relative, right? So we were at my parents' house in the hill country in Texas over Thanksgiving break, and it was down in the low 30s, which for those of you who have Celsius for your temperature rating, that's pretty close to 0. And I know that that's not cold for a lot of places, but it is cold for us here. And we were camping at my parents' house. They live on some acreage, and so we pitched a tent and hung out in the tent, which was so fun. It was nice to have a space for just us. It's my little mini family, but I was very thankful that he and I both had an opportunity to wear this over that time period. I think he brought it along just to humor me, thinking that like the opportunity would not present itself, and it did for sure. So I'm glad I had it. I'm glad it's finished. There we go. And I think I had either just cast this on or was thinking about casting this on when I filmed last, and it is done. I will try to include some B-rail of this. I have a few ends to snip off, but they're all woven in, so we're like truly done. That's the one piece that I'm like, is it done or is it not if the ends aren't woven in? But I just have to snip those ends off when I'm around to scissors next, and it is ready to wear. But it is done. I have worn it once or twice and I love it. You'll see in some of the pictures I put up that I have a chest tattoo. It actually like wraps all the way around, but it looks like just a chest tattoo, and this top with the v-neck like shows it off so nicely. I like to be able to cover my tattoos if I decide to, but there are those times where it's nice to show them, and this does a good job of accentuating that piece of body art that I have. I knit this up in Knit Picks Stroll, I believe. Yes, their Stroll. I used Duchess, that's the purple color, and I used Aurora for the green. I just really wanted something kind of jewel toned to wear. I have a few jewel toned items in my wardrobe that are colorful, and I've learned that those are the things that I really like and I want more of. So to be able to make something that's completely me is really nice. I knit up the size 2 for this design, but I sized down needles. So the pattern calls for a US 4 for the body and a US 3 for the neckline and arm. Is it a hem when it's on your sleeve? And your hem. So I went down a step, so I did 3 for the body and I did US 2 for all of the edge rib details, and I really like the way it came out. I tapped into 5 balls of yarn total for this. However, I want to say I probably didn't use, like I haven't weighed this. I probably could and let you know, but I think overall weightage of the yarn wasn't 5 balls. It was maybe closer to 4 balls if you're just going sheer weight or yardage. But because you're doing specific coloring, like I used this much of the purple, the Duchess, to do the sleeves, and that was like the only thing I needed the Duchess for. So had I not needed that, or had I been willing to like compromise this stripe pattern and do more of, because I have a ton of this green Aurora left, had I been willing to compromise, I could have done this with 4 balls of yarn, which would be what, 200 grams. So a really easy way to use up some odd quantities of yarn in your stash if you wanted to. You could make this scrappy. I haven't made a ton of projects, so I can't really say like, oh, this is a really bizarre, neat construction. But I do think that this is considered like a faux set-in sleeve, because you work the back and the beginning of the sleeves, and you kind of go back and forth like this, building the sleeve as you're also building the main back and the front portion of the v-neck. And so it's not an add-on to have that set-in sleeve, but it does look like, because of the pearls here, it does look like it's been attached, which I like that. I will have to get back to you on the wearability in terms of like, you know, lifting the arms up. But the nice thing about this tee is that it is oversized. It's a little bit relaxed. I knitted mine extra long so that it wasn't going to ride up when I wore it with jeans or something. So even if it does pull up with the way that a circular yoke would, I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to wear this more often now that it's finished. And yeah, don't think I have anything to say about it. It was really easily understood, the pattern, and I would probably make this again. The only downside is the v-neck portion. Oh, that's one other thing I did want to mention. It is worked top down, as I alluded to. And I find that for me, at any rate, it could be just that I'm a newer knitter, but my tension is crap at the beginning stages when I have like nothing to hold on to, and like the little yarn mustache is slip sliding on the needles. And so I am not 100% thrilled about the way that this neckline worked out. So I guess that's like a pro in the bottom up category of, you know, you get your tension worked out and any kind of hiccups figured out as you're working this bottom portion when you're doing a bottom up construction. And so by the time you get to the portion where people are actually going to be noticing that kind of thing, you have a lot more material to hold on to, your tension is more even. Like, I just think that that's maybe the one thing that I don't like about top down. So okay, here we are with the Advent rant. I actually have no issues with yarn advents. This is not a beef about that. But I was watching a video from a prominent American yarn influencer. She's got her own yarn line, and she and her mother were talking about advents and yarn advents, and really had no like context or clue. And I totally understand, like, you can't be an expert in everything, but I think that if you're going to talk about something that is actually special to a particular group of people, or faith, or a culture, or whatever, like, if you don't know, then maybe keep your mouth shut, and or, you know, be curious, but don't just like blow it off or make it about something that is only commercial. So basically they were saying that advents are just countdowns, and that's not accurate or true at all. So this is my little soapbox rant, and I can do this because my channel is small enough that I don't think anybody's gonna care. But I just wanted to say that Advent is actually a special occasion for people of the Christian faith. And again, I actually don't celebrate Christmas really, so I'm not an expert on this either, but I do know that it is special for them because Advent is the anticipation of the coming of Christ. And that is something that's really big in the Christian community. Like, Christianity is not about a lot of things that people think it's about. It's really about Christ. And that's honestly the place where Christianity diverges from so many other faiths. Like, if you look at the Jewish faith, if you look at Islam, Christianity, like, they're all very similar. There's a lot of overlap. And it's because they're actually looking at the same history through a different lens. And they diverge at this one point in history when the Jews are like, oh, we don't accept that he's God. And the Christians are like, no, this is God. He is the Messiah. And then Islam is like, he was just a prophet. But anyway, I just think it's a little bit callous or tone deaf, especially if you live in a nation that has the history of Christianity that the US does have. And you don't have to believe in it but I just think that it's inconsiderate to say like, oh, it's nothing except for like a countdown that people buy yarn for. Like that makes no sense at all. Advent is the countdown, the anticipation of the birth of Christ. And so I just think that if you're going to talk about somebody else's traditions, especially when it comes to something that's special to a certain group, whether that's a faith or a culture or whatever it is, that you just be mindful about how you speak about things. And if you don't know, I mean, the internet is pretty good at giving you a general summary, and to just talk off the cuff about something that is special to other people, it doesn't need to happen. Anyway, that is my rant about Advent. I do love seeing everybody's Vlogmas. My daughter has been jamming out to all of the Christmas tunes that everybody's got in their Vlogmas videos, so keep those up. I think those Advent yarn calendars are stunning. I also love the chocolate ones. So again, I'm not poo-pooing on anybody's fun here, just to say maybe be a little bit more thoughtful when you are talking about important things like that. So, and rant. My one that I've been really eyeballing for a long time has been the Luminos Tee. It's by Yamagara Knits. I believe I'm saying that right. Designer is based in Singapore, and I just love Asian influenced knitting, or actually just fashion in general. I think it's stunning, and I thought this design was really beautiful. I love the look of a chevron on a body. It just adds a little bit of it's like it's like horizontal stripes. It just is a little bit more flattering on almost any body, to have the eye kind of travel down in this slantwise fashion. So it is a really unique design in that you make the bottom hem first and then you work it in the round. So you make these shawl shape constructions here, and those, let's see if I can show you guys. They kind of sit on the side of the body here, and this is the first one done. Because it is constructed like a shawl, I think many shawl knitters have had the experience where you start and the little back and forth goes so quickly, but by the time you get to the end portion, it's a slog because you've picked up so many stitches and added so much. And again, this is not like, I'm not complaining, but it's just one of those where you have a lot of momentum early on and then it gets a little harder to keep going. So I have the first wedge diamond shape done, and I've got the second one on the needles now. I only started this week, and I'm really hoping that I can finish this before New Year's. That would be kind of cool, and get it joined in the round and working in a little bit more of a mindless manner. But yeah, I am enjoying this. I am working up the size 2. I am using the suggested needle size of a US 4, and then the smaller, like the, I guess it's not the hem because I finished the hem already, but there's other components that you're going to use a size 3, and I'm going with that. I didn't swatch just because this is going to be an oversized fit tee, and I didn't think it was that big of a deal for me to get, you know, like the most perfect fit on it. But I am going with, let's see, this is Knit Pick Stroll again. It's the tweed. It's called Flagstone, and I love the little tweedy bits. It just makes the whole process feel a little bit more fun. I think it's a little bit like working, in my brain, it's like working with a variegated yarn, but the you can see, like, from the pattern photos that there are other colors incorporated. They used a hand-dyed yarn, I think it's hedgehog fibers, and that yarn is beautiful. But I actually, just on a whim, bought this sampler set from Knit Picks. It is their tea time tweed fingering weight set, and unfortunately it is an odd quantity. I was gonna do the Jessie May Cozy Classic Light with this and just do it a short sleeve and maybe cropped, but I just didn't feel like I was gonna have enough. And then I was realizing that if I'm working stripes with this yarn and kind of playing yarn chicken, that just makes it even more complicated to do the body and the arms and all of that. And so instead I figured I would just take this yarn and incorporate it into this pattern that already calls for kind of this odd like doesn't need to be symmetrical kind of design anyway. So I'm super excited. I think my skin tone looks a little better with a more like of a gem tone, so I think these actually look nicer next to my face compared to these. And so my plan is to incorporate these first, and then these will be worked in when we get up to the neckline portion. And I'll probably do the purple up closer to my face just because I like purple and blue. I've got a ton of blue, so I don't really want to use a ton of this color in the project itself. Like, it's beautiful, but I have a lot of this in my wardrobe and other garments, so these will kind of be the main ones I focus on adding into this shirt. And I'm super excited for the creative element of choosing the thickness of the stripes and the placement, how many rounds I'm going to do in each color, that kind of thing. So that has only been on my needles for probably altogether, I've been working on it for 3 weeks, but in reality, I think of focus knitting, it's only been worked on for about 2 weeks perhaps. So anyway, that's this. I'm excited to have the Luminos Tee on my needles. I can't wait for it to be done so I can wear it. But as I mentioned, I'm definitely more of a product knitter than a process knitter, which you might not believe given that everything I make has been in fingering weight yarn, and it is a process. But I am glad to have it going. The one other thing that is a whip that I don't know, it's in a gray area. Is it a whip? Is it an FO? Is Tilly the Hare. So I had started this one several weeks back, actually several months back, and it is made out of 100% cotton. The reason why it's kind of a whip still is because she's got little Coraline eyes at the moment. They're not sewn on, they're just pinned in, because I haven't found a needle in my stash of small enough eye that will fit through the buttonholes and large enough that I can use the type of thread I wanted to use. So that, and then we've got like 1 or 2 strands to weave in still or just snip. But I love how fluffy the tail is. I want to come in with some super glue and just like really secure the pom-pom and then brush the heck out of it so it's even more fluffy, because that really I think makes the doll. I am glad that it's to have it, but I'm extremely glad that it's done. I like to finish projects that I start, and I did not realize when I started this how unpleasant knitting with 100% cotton would be, especially on a tight gauge. So you can really see like all the little tension issues I have here, but I am proud that it's done. I read somebody's comment on Ravelry, and they were like, this is practically Bunnyzilla compared to like the little cotton rabbit patterns. So just be prepared that if you are going to make this, you're in for a slog. Don't use cotton, but it's quite a large doll. I mean, this is probably 30 inches, so what is that, like almost 70 centimeters perhaps? That's close enough. So I'm glad to have it nearly done. Like I said, I'm just working on finishing touches for her. This is Tilly the Hare from the book Animal Friends by Louise Carruthers, and I made a Easter Bunny themed cable cardigan for her. I have some buttons to sew on so that it actually buttons up at the back, and I need to make her some trousers so that she's not running around without pants. But this is pretty close to being finished. I am mentally calling it finished, but I do know there's a few things I need to really complete to have it off of my brain. So the other whip I have going is the Bluma square by, I think it's Lillian, maybe? Bajorn? I don't remember. I'll post the pattern here. It is a paid for crochet cushion cover pattern. It is a lot of fun. It's pretty simple, especially if you are an experienced crocheter. I think I had a few moments where I was like, whoa, Icarus, you are flying too close to the sun. Do not think that you know what you're doing. Because I had to pull back 1 or 2 rounds, a lot of times I can fudge things when I'm crocheting to make it work, especially when you make dolls. If you finish the round and you're supposed to have 40 stitches and you have 41, like I can go back and kind of correct that. I can work in or out a stitch to make up for any kind of potential error that happened while I wasn't paying attention. But because each round builds on itself, you really need the stitches to line up. So now that I'm on row like 23, I'm doing okay in terms of understanding the pattern, having a good foundation to build on, and I've gotten to the point where pretty much, because it's a square, you're working around and around. Once I follow the pattern and get that first square or first side of the square done, it's pretty simple to just reference back on what I did and the stitches below to complete rounds 2, 3, and 4. So this is a pretty easy make for me because it takes a little bit of focus and then it takes hardly any concentration or focus to complete the other 2-3/4 of a side, so, or of a round. I'm really excited to get this done because I have a pillow cushion on my couch that is like falling apart and I would love to get this on there. I don't really know if I'm going to do, I'm kind of leaning towards, so in the pattern you've got your primary and secondary colors, color A and color B, as it shows here. So I think for the other side of this cushion I will swap it and that will be A and this will be B. I would say that if you're doing this project and you are a newer crocheter, or maybe you're just like not extremely confident reading patterns or keeping things like that straight, somebody with like me who is ADHD and dyslexic, I am really thankful it just worked out this way. I didn't plan it, but this A color is very similar in darkness to their A color, and then their B color is very light, just like this. And so it doesn't take a lot of thinking for me to realize like, okay, this is the one that's supposed to be here, this is the one that's supposed to be here. So I would say do yourself a favor, especially if you're not 100% sure you're gonna get it. Initially is try, you don't have to use the exact same colors, although they did choose beautiful colors in their designs, but I would recommend just make it easier on yourself. Do a darker color for A, a lighter color for B, and it will help your brain keep that stuff straight. This is definitely larger yarn, and oh, this is the back, by the way. It's kind of neat looking. It makes me think of a spider web, but their pattern I think calls for like a DK or a light yarn on a, I want to say it's a 3mm hook, and I am using what I believe is an Aran weight yarn. It's this, I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby. It's just an acrylic or coarse type yarn, and I am using an H hook, which I want to say is a 5mm. I kind of am kicking myself for not sizing up to the J, just because, or I rather, I feel like it would have gone faster, but I also wonder if that would have been a poor choice to begin with, because then you would really like have larger gaps in between the 2 layers of fabric. So I would not turn this into a wearable, even if it was made with a nicer quality yarn. Not to say that this isn't nice, it's soft for sure, but it is just so stiff and so sturdy. I am really looking forward to blocking it with a steamer just to see it relax a little more, but we're pretty close. I think we probably got another like 3 inches on each side before this is big enough to fit over a pillow, and then of course we have to do the other side. But this has been flying. It's only been on my hook for maybe 2 weeks, and I've made a lot of progress on it. Thing that I was waiting for this sale was getting more of the Lindy chain. A few episodes back I had mentioned I bought 1 ball of yarn of this because I had seen that like more prolific knitters will sometimes buy 1 ball of yarn, swatch and see what they think of the material that they get, and then decide like, yes, I like this is gonna work for the project, or no, this is not for me. And then instead of having, you know, like a sweater's quantity of yarn that they're not going to use, they only have 1 ball of yarn, and that is like, it's dipping the toe in. It's kind of like a date. And so that's what I had done with the holly chain, the Lindy chain. And then also I was kind of not sure that I would love the color, which I do. This is a stunning color. But that being said, it is kind of a more expensive yarn, so I planned back when I made the initial purchase that if I liked it, I would wait for it to go on sale and then I would buy the rest of it. So I did that, and that was kind of like my biggest purchase item from that order. But then, you know, of course, it's Black Friday, everybody's running their sales, and I looked ahead in my queue and I thought, okay, there's like a handful of things that I really want to make, and I might as well take this opportunity to again keep trying out different types of yarn and to get them while they're a good price. And so I bought this one, which is called Yakish. It is a sport weight, 55% baby alpaca, 35% superwash merino wool, and 10% yak. And so I need to do some research to know like how baby alpaca behaves, because I want to say it's alpaca that perhaps stretches out and doesn't have a lot of definition to it. I mean, this is really, really beautiful yarn. I'm sure I'm not doing it any justice. There we go. That's a better way to show it. In terms of, I just think it's so pretty. So I can't wait to work on this. Not only is it not fingering weight, but it is just like, oh, so squishy. And when this order arrived, my toddler was like, ooh, what is this? And I had let her touch some of these fluffy polyester yarns. And so then, of course, she keeps digging in the box and she's like, oh, what's this? And I'm like, that's a very expensive yarn that you can't play with. So, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, she's already into my hobby as well. And just this past week, she started playing with some of the dolls that I've made. I'll include a picture where she was just like holding it up and looking at it, and then like holding it up to her face and giving it a little cuddle. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. She hasn't really shown a big sense of like maternal tendencies yet. Like, I've met other of her friends her age that are like carrying around babies and going, oh, and like very interested in babies and dolls, and this is like her first indication of any interest, which I just think is really funny and cute and typical, because like I was not interested in children, anybody's children, mine or anybody else's, until 2 years ago maybe. So she's totally like me. She's like a bit delayed on the maternal tendencies. But anyway, that is a bit of a tangent. The other things I got during my Black Friday purchase shopping spree was these polyester yarns, and I think all 3 of them are polyester. I had seen some patterns for where the wild things are, some like plushy designs for where the wild things are creatures, and I thought those would make up really quick, and if I wanted to do a fair or a booth or anything like a craft show in future, that these would be great for that. If not, they would still work out great for gifts. So this one is called Yeah, this one's 100% polyester. It's a number 6. This one's called Hubby. This one is also the same. It is called Single Brown. Wow, that is depressing. Actually, oh so bare. Then this one is called Mahia, and also polyester. Super bulky weight fairy tale fur, which used to be known as fable fur. But yeah, Mahia, so pretty. So anyway, I thought those would work out great for little crochet dolls. And then the last thing is I have a cone of that linen yarn, that black linen, and I prematurely was like, I'm gonna love that Marigold tee. And so before I even made it, I bought the yarn to make a second one. So this is gonna be my contrast color, and I'm gonna use the black for my primary color. But this is just a really pretty, it's 100% Cupro and 20% mulberry silk. It is really pretty, and it's called, the colorway is called Taro. I think that's what it's called. But anyway, these are the things I got, and I am super excited to work with them. However, because I have several things that I need to finish before I start on that, these are going back into the yarn closet until they get a little closer to the front of the queue. But I thought I'd share with you the new things, and yeah, I hope that this was entertaining for you, and that the noise wasn't too bad, and the lighting wasn't too dark. We'll see. And I'm wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if you don't celebrate those holidays, that's okay. I don't really either, but I still am wishing you joy in the season and rest, because I think too many people get caught up in the crazy hubbub of it all, and it should be a season of rest. So bake some cookies, make a puzzle, drink some warm tea or hot chocolate, and just do something nice for yourself. So that's all I got for you guys. Take care until next year.